Hey folks, welcome back to Candace Boxing Channel, our regular Sunday afternoon. James and Bob talk boxing. James, how the devil are you, man?
All good, mate. All good. Um, yeah, I'm just me, as you'll soon find out. I'm controversial. Well, sometimes controversial. I'll just say what I think. So
Well, we
yeah.
we certainly had a good chat yesterday, the four of us. I was giggling quite into the evening, at the various things, including Jerry's now famous expression of throwing his toilet down the career.
I know. Yeah, I know. He's terrified now in case he becomes a meme, isn't he?
Be like Anthony Joshua turned into a meme.
Yeah, basically.
So yesterday we spent some time going over the Carl Froch interview of Connor Benn, and for anybody who hasn't seen that, we had a two-parter. One part on this channel, and the other part was on Andy's Cavern, which if you haven't visited, you should. Now, Jamie, I see that our friend Russ from Porky's Corner has gone online and made some comments about Carl Froch's interview of Connor Benn. What's your take on Russ's comments?
Um, I mean, we've spoke amongst ourselves, haven't we, and said maybe he's a bit soft on him. But do you know what I think it is? When I've looked at it, because I looked at it after the comments were made by, because we were talking amongst ourselves. I think the wind's been taken out of Ross's sails. I think it's just the fact that, he's been quite soft on Carl, but I think it's just because he's in disbelief. And he's like, I don't really know what to say. I'm quite upset. I'm quite, I'm in disbelief at the fact that you've gone against everything that you've said you would do, which is, speak the truth and speak for the man on the street, basically. Speak for, the casual boxing fan, speak for the hardcore boxing fan, speak for every man. And, I don't think Russ was necessarily being soft. I just think he was flabbergasted at what had gone on, really.
Yeah,
So
I,
it's
I, I
quite sad for him, really.
yeah, I certainly thought he was subdued and not the Mr. Porky that we've gotten used to. And I think probably because I think he has a personal relationship with Carl Froch, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
And
he does, but I think it's just knocked him for six. And I think anything, whether physical or mental, I think if something knocks you for six, it knocks the wind out of you. And I think that's what we've seen from Russ. And I'm going to be on with Russ this week, and I will sort of approach that with him. So don't worry, Canada Boxing Channel fans. If you worry Jamie's going to go the other way, or James, as I'm known as on Porky's Corner fame, if you're worried I'm going to go that way, I'm not. I will question him on it, but I do genuinely think it's just because he's disappointed in Carl and he doesn't really want to hammer home the point. Because what's the point? What's been said has been said. You can't go back on it, can you? It's like you know. No, I'm not even going to say that. I won't. No, I will say it. I will say it. It's like if your child comes home and he's my son Alfie. If my son Alfie had made a girl pregnant, it's pointless me getting angry because it's already been done. So I'm going
yeah,
to be quite subdued. I'm just going to do what I need to do. Obviously, it's a completely different set of circumstances, but I'm not going to get angry about it because what's the point? You know what I mean? It's already been done. So I think that's how Russ has reacted to the point. He just thought, well, it's pre-recorded. There's no point in me getting angry because not going to achieve anything by it. So that's
yeah.
my understanding.
That's a really good point. Like, what's done is done, and there isn't a tremendous amount of percentage to be gained by crying over spilt milk.
Yeah,
I certainly got the sense. I haven't spoken to Ross, but I got the sense that he was just really disappointed in Carl Froch, as I think many of Carl Froch's fans will be. To be honest with you, whether we were expecting him to tackle Connor Benn head on or whether we were not, there's still that lingering sense of disappointment that the questions were really, really vanilla, softball questions. What's your favorite tattoo?
Yeah.
It's sort of like they
Well,
were they were
they weren't
poor.
just soft, were they, Bob? They weren't just soft, were they? They were just there was nothing. There was nothing veering in the ballpark of what has happened. You know,
Yeah.
and what I found quite and sorry to jump on because you were talking there,
No,
so I do
go ahead.
apologise.
Go ahead, man.
But
It's just a conversation.
sorry to, yeah. Well, sorry to jump on it, but when I was looking through the comments, it's clear that Carl is reading every single comment, and the
Ah,
amount of comments that were like, "Porky's coming to get you," and I'm quite glad that it's not just Russ; it's people like me and you, people that are on the channel regularly. We're getting our and don't get me wrong, I don't do boxing podcasts to be noticed, but it's but I do boxing podcasts to speak the truth. So what I would say is it's nice that the truth is being outed now, and people are turning around and saying Ross is coming to get you because people are saying they know the truth's coming for Carl, and I think that's a positive thing for boxing because the only way boxing is going to improve is if the truth is outed and the truth is a more prevalent circumstance, basically.
yeah. I mean, I very much agree with that. Like, if the gaslighting or the narrative is not challenged, then eventually people are going to look at it as all fake and no basis in reality.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that those of us that do, go on podcasts and talk about things, in a way, we also represent sometimes the opinions of lots of people who are just fans. Because at the end of the piece, that's what we are. We're fans, right? We're not like industry insiders, and we don't have access to anybody famous or anything. We're just guys who like to watch, you know, as my dad would have said, like to watch the boxing on the weekend.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
yeah.
And we're the most important fan because we're the fan that all the promoters are shooting for because we're hardcores, but um, yeah, they need to mop up every single fan, whether it's hardcore, whether it's casual, because if we've got our eyes on the fights, then they're making money, aren't they?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I've often said that while the promoters seem to be, dismissive of core fans or dismissive of media, at the end of the piece, they need us because if we don't watch, they don't get paid.
Exactly.
Like I'm not going to watch, or I'm not going to pay to watch, rather, the Connor Benn Chris Eubank fight because to me it's kind of a joke fight. So I'm sure they won't miss my $29 or whatever they were going to charge me. But if enough people take that view, it's going to be a hole in their expected intake, right?
Yeah, of
And
course.
and I think they've had some trouble selling out Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, from what I understand. But yet they've got their media shills out there telling us that there's 130,000 people lined up to buy tickets. Well,
But the thing is, Bob, there shouldn't still be people lining up to buy tickets.
of course not.
The tickets should already be sold.
Yeah,
We talk about Anthony Joshua quite regularly. Anthony Joshua, they were sold out in 90 minutes.
yeah,
You wouldn't have people lining up because it would be pointless because no one's ever going to get a ticket because the fight's that massive. Even if they were like Anthony Joshua fought a guy called Matt Legg, who was a journeyman, um, on the undercard of Carl Froch and George Groves, number two. I went. And that fight itself, Matt Legg against Anthony Joshua, could have sold out Wembley on its own because it was Anthony Joshua. So all this narrative of people saying like, oh, there's people lining up. If it was that big, there wouldn't be an opportunity for people to line up. So stop, you know, fluffing us with your and if I may swear, Bob,
Go ahead.
stop. Yeah, stop trying to saturate us with your bollocks
Yeah, I mean
because
it's just
yeah,
gaslighting. It's frankly lying, especially when you can go on Ticketmaster and you can see tickets are available. So
yep,
I mean, it's easy to disprove the lie. You know, something you were saying there about Anthony Joshua. Um, I quite like Anthony Joshua. I'm not a big fan of his or anything, you know, neither which way or the other. But I will say this. Anthony Joshua has done a lot for boxing, I guess, especially British boxing, in that he's generated a lot of interest and a lot of support, and he's he's got a lot of eyes to sort of look at the sport who probably wouldn't have otherwise.
yeah.
You know, he's
He's saying yeah.
done a good job in that regard. I mean, hey, you could say the same about Jake Paul, to be perfectly honest with you, which you know, which is I don't want to probably go down that road. Um,
We went down that road last night, didn't we, Bob? And I quite openly said, look, Jake Paul might as well be in the Moses Salma sweepstakes because he's got a better record than that shit that he's fighting
yeah,
in his next fight. So yeah,
really am struggling to figure out some rhyme or reason to um, to address why Moses Atama is fighting a guy who he's not even in the top 500 of the world rankings. Like, I get that he fought Dempsey McCain. He knocked out Dempsey McCain in double quick order. The logical next step would have been to look at that sort of, I'll call it roughly like the Fraser Clark, David Adelaide sort of bandwidth, you know, like
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
have to be those two guys, or to go a little bit higher, like the Justice Hooney or the Michael Hunter. But even if you just wanted to stay at that sort of like, I'll call it like roughly like the British level, to fight somebody like that, that would have made sense to me. But to go down like to go that far down into the barrel. Um,
yeah.
you were saying something yesterday that really sort of grabbed my attention. You were saying that you think maybe that the training camp has detected a little bit of glass in Moses's chin.
Yep, I do, and I don't want to recycle the point because obviously we've had people watching before, but for anyone that didn't watch, I think we've gone from a complete, this man's going to be world heavyweight champion before Mike Tyson was and everything like that, to he's fighting an absolute nobody. And no disrespect to the guy he's fighting. I say the guy he's fighting because I don't know the guy's name. That's how little publicity the guy has garnered. Um, and I just think, well, there's got to be a reason for him pulling back. There's always a reason for him pulling back. They'll slow the train down if there's a problem with the chin, if there's a problem with the stamina. And it just makes me think, well, there's got to be a problem. Because one minute they're talking about Mike Tyson's record, next minute they've slowed him down to a complete halt. Because, as I say, Jake Paul would be a better opponent than this prick that he's fighting in
Oh
his next
yeah.
fight.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I did a video yesterday about an undefeated Canadian heavyweight, Alexis Barriere. He's a
Hmm.
southpaw. He's done. He was in Tyson Fury's training camp prepping for Alexander Usyk, and he's 12
Yep.
and 0. He boxes out of Quebec. Like that would have been a very, decent sort of opponent. Similar sort of
Certainly.
record, a bit of a challenge. I would expect Moses to have won, but it wouldn't have hurt Alexis Barriere, who probably is looking for work. But
Yep.
to fight this Mike Bologin, like I say, you can go on BoxRec. He's just inactive. Like it's the same thing as if you look up Joe Lewis, right? As far
Yeah.
as BoxRec is concerned, the guy is not a
Yeah.
boxer anymore.
No.
So he's being
Exactly. And
he's
that,
being
and
dug
that's
out
what.
of
Well, yeah,
retirement or
and
inactivity.
that's. But that's why I mentioned about Jake Paul. Jake Paul is more worthy because Jake Paul he's had a fight in the last year. All
Yeah.
right, it might have been against the corpse, but he's still got still throwing his arms in contempt, you know. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I just don't get it. Like, like they put in Richard Torres Jr. against Guido Vianello. That was a fight that sort of made sense, right? That was, at least on paper, that was looking almost like a 50-50 kind of fight. But
yeah.
but to go backwards with, and I know, people have taken a shot at me saying, "Oh, well, Moses is still young. Why are you rushing him?" I'm not suggesting you rush him. I'm not suggesting throwing
No,
him in with Joseph Parker next week. I'm
no.
suggesting that you build him slowly and develop him, right?
You build them sensibly according to what is out there. And all right, I'll throw something out there that's not been spoken about. So this is new material, really, Bob, for the channel. Why not put him out there with Huey Fury?
That would
Why
make
did Fury
sense.
Fury have to? Why did Fury Fury have to like the crap that he fought and laboured against the crap that he fought? If you believe that Fury Fury is, you know, gonna go where he wants to go with Fury's dad, right? They could have
Yeah,
had them two together.
yeah, because Fury fought that guy who owns a kebab shop, the Bosnian guy,
Yeah,
and Moses Atomo is fighting the U.S. equivalent thereof. Why not put Moses and Huey in? And
well,
if either
exactly.
if either had lost, it's no big deal. If I see those two guys, I'm definitely going to watch. I'm interested. If Moses loses, oh, okay, well, he lost, but that's not the end of the world. If Huey
But the thing is,
loses,
yeah, exactly. Moses is 20 years old in May, right? If Fury loses, well, it's to be expected. He's not had a fight. He's very inactive. It's a win-win situation for both.
yeah,
So why
it would make
why are we
sense.
getting this rubbish? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you could
Why?
have definitely done that fight. Both guys have got a following. I mean, Huey Fury has a following. Um,
Hmm.
there's a certain amount of interest in it. Huey Fury is actually a talented guy. He doesn't have a great record recently, but he's, in activity, whatnot. That would have been a perfectly good fight.
Certainly would.
Yeah,
Certainly would. And
yeah. So I'm really at a loss, and I know I'm sort of belaboring the point because, like, I just genuinely don't understand it. Um, I see. I see a fight that I'm actually kind of looking forward to, even though I kind of object to one of the guys getting a paycheck. Is Fabio Wardley and Jarrell Big Pharma Miller? What do you
big,
what,
big farmer.
what do you think about that?
I'll be happy with that fight as long as Fabio ends it early. So really, I'm unhappy with the fight because I don't understand why. For the same reason why I don't understand Dylan White keeps getting assignments. Uh, Jarrell Miller and Jarrell Miller, he's got himself in trouble legally, hasn't he? Outside of boxing in very recent times.
Yeah,
I
well,
think he was arrested for some sort of robbery or something like that.
oh,
The guy shouldn't be anywhere near a ring.
I I made some sort of tongue in cheek comments on a video I did, talking about how he's gone up in the rankings, and I said it must be that the fight he had with the car salesman in whichever state it was. I can't remember which state it was. As best I understood, his car had been hooked and impounded, and he went to the dealership to retrieve his car. He got into a fight with the car salesperson. He then fled the scene, but I believe he was arrested. He was, and there's some legal issue around that, obviously, but maybe
Yeah.
that the rating authorities thought that, oh well, you had a fight with a car salesman, and that should give you a higher ranking. It makes no sense.
Well, it would give him a higher ranking than just. Well, it should give him a higher ranking, I should say,
Yeah,
than just ask him for it as he has done. You know,
yeah. He went to
and
the annual general meeting or something, and just simply lobbied and said, "Hey, listen, I'd like to be rated higher because I'd like to be
they
able to
went, yeah,
fight."
okay,
Yeah, well, I mean, why can't we go? Why
yeah,
can't we get a ranking, right? It's like,
exactly. And I've got cerebral palsy. I'm in a wheelchair. David Hay managed to fight Tony Bellew when David Hay's falling apart, so why can't I? Do you know what I mean? I can throw a punch.
David Hay was being held together with duct
Same,
tape and super glue, wasn't he?
and well wishers. Yeah.
Oh dear me, yeah. I at first when I saw the Fabio Wardley, I like Fabio Wardley. I actually really like him. I like the fact that he's just a brawler. Really, well, he's not
I
just a
do.
brawler.
He's a throwback, isn't he?
Yeah,
He really is.
and
He's yeah.
he doesn't have
Go
that
on,
white
boss.
collar. Sorry, he doesn't have that amateur thing. He's got that white collar background. I like that. And I was thinking it would be sort of a fairly straightforward fight. But then I started thinking that could actually be a very hard night's work for Fabio.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause-
I think it will be because the guy's the size of a truck. So, you know, like Daniel Dubois had to put a shift in to shift Jarrell Miller.
yeah,
And Daniel Dubois is a lot more skilled as a boxer than, and I say skilled because I think Fabio Wardley's a brawler, isn't he?
yeah,
So, because he's not got that amateur background, whereas Daniel Dubois was ABA champion and very well lauded in
yeah.
terms of his boxing ability.
Properly
And
schooled, like he's properly
yeah,
trained. He's been brought along properly,
exactly,
right?
exactly. And Daniel had to put a shift in to shift Jarrell Miller. So it is a good fight, but I don't agree with the fact that Jarrell Miller's got the fight. He shouldn't be getting paydays. Same
No,
reason for the same reason that Dillian White shouldn't be getting paydays.
or
He's
Connor Benn.
yeah. Well, go ahead, don't talk to me about Connor Benn, Bob. I'll start swearing. But yeah, we talked about Connor Benn last night, didn't we? Subscribe, everyone. You'll be able to see. You'll be able to see. Um, yeah. Well, Dillian White's even worse, really, if you go by numbers. Four
Yeah,
times
four
he's
times.
failed, and then he's gone into obscurity because he's had an injury. So it just makes you think, well, has he done it again? So I don't know.
Yeah, he showed a finger injury that I mean, uh, I'm always suspicious when people pull out. Um, but at least to be fair, this time Dillian White did show some evidence of an injury, just like
Yeah, he talked
Ryan
about it.
Brzezinski pulled out of David out of the oh a Coley fight. I
Yeah,
think he tore his bicep, and he was able to
yeah,
show like the same day doctor's evidence, some sort of surgical report, and he was totally
yeah,
upfront with it,
yeah. Well, yeah. So it's fair enough, isn't it?
which
But
makes you wonder even more why Daniel Dubois was silent for 35 days. But I think I flogged that horse to death.
yeah, we won't cover old ground again, Bob, will we? But um, we know what we think.
Yeah. Do you want to go on to part two?
Certainly, I'll see you in part two.
Okay, mate. I'll see you there in 2 minutes.
See you soon, mate. Bye bye.